Episode number 23. Kay didn't concern himself long with the god or these people, especially as he saw it turning off the corridor, about halfway along it on the right-hand side, where there was no door to stop him going that way. He asked the usher whether that was the right way to go. The usher nodded, and that is the way that Kay went. The usher remained always 1 or 2 steps behind Kay, which he found irritating, as in a place like this it could give the impression that he was being driven along by someone who had arrested him, so he frequently waited for the usher to catch up, but the usher always remained behind him. In order to put an end to his discomfort, Kay finally said, "Now that I've seen what it looks like here, I'd like to go." "You haven't seen everything yet," said the usher ingenuously. "I don't want to see everything," said Kay, who was also feeling very tired. "I want to go. What is the way to the exit?" "You haven't got lost, have you?" asked the usher in amazement. "You go down this way to the corner, then right down the corridor straight ahead as far as the door." "Come with me," said Kay. "Show me the way, I'll miss it, there are so many different ways here." "It's the only way there is," said the usher, who had now started to sound quite reproachful. "I can't go back with you again. I've got to hand in my report, and I've already lost a lot of time, because of you as it is." "Come with me," Kay repeated, now somewhat sharper, as if he had finally caught the usher out in a lie. "Don't shout like that," whispered the usher. "There's offices all around us here. If you don't want to go back by yourself, come on a bit further with me, or else wait here till I've sorted out my report, then I'll be glad to go back with you again." "No, no," said Kay. "I will not wait, and you must come with me now." Kay had still not looked round at anything at all in the room where he found himself, and it was only when one of the wooden doors all around him opened that he noticed it. A young woman, probably summoned by the loudness of K's voice, entered and asked, "What is it the gentleman wants?" In the darkness behind her there was also a man approaching. Kay looked at the usher. He had, after all, said that no one would take notice of Kay, and now there were 2 people coming. It only needed a few, and everyone in the office would become aware of him, and asking for explanations as to why he was there. The only understandable and acceptable thing to say was that he was accused of something, and wanted to know the date of his next hearing, but this was an explanation he did not want to give, especially as it was not true. He had only come out of curiosity. Or else, an explanation even less usable, he could say that he wanted to ascertain that the court was as revolting on the inside as it was on the outside. And it did seem that he had been quite right in this supposition. He had no wish to intrude deeper. He was disturbed enough by what he had seen already. He was not in the right frame of mind just then to face a high official, such as might appear from behind that door, and he wanted to go, either with the usher of the court or, if needs be, alone. But he must have seemed very odd standing there in silence, and the young woman and the usher were indeed looking at him as if they thought he would go through some major metamorphosis at second, which they didn't want to miss seeing. And in the doorway stood the man whom Kay had noticed in the background earlier. He held firmly onto the beam above the low door, swinging a little on the tips of his feet as if becoming impatient as he watched. But the young woman was the first to recognize that K's behavior was caused by his feeling slightly unwell. She brought a chair, and asked, "Would you not like to sit down?" Kay sat down immediately and, in order to keep his place better, put his elbows on the armrests. "You're a little bit dizzy, aren't you?" she asked him. Her face was now close in front of him. It bore the severe expression that many young women have just when they're in the bloom of their youth. "It's nothing for you to worry about," she said. "That's nothing unusual here. Almost everyone gets an attack like that the first time they come here. This is your first time, is it?" "Yes, it's nothing unusual then. The sun burns down on the roof, and the hot wood makes the air so thick and heavy. It makes this place rather unsuitable for offices, whatever other advantages it might offer. But there is almost impossible to breathe on days when there's a lot of business, and that's almost every day. and when you think that there's a lot of washing put out to dry here as well, and we can't stop the tenants doing that, it's not surprising you started to feel unwell. But you get used to they're alright in the end. When you're here for the second or third time you'll hardly notice how oppressive there is. Are you feeling better now? Kay made no answer. He felt too embarrassed at being put at the mercy of these people by his sudden weakness, and learning the reason for feeling ill made him feel not better, but a little worse. The girl noticed it straight away, and to make the air fresher for Kay, she took a window pole that was leaning against the wall, and pushed open a small hatch directly above K's head that led to the outside. But so much soot fell in that the girl had to immediately close the hatch again, and clean the soot off K's hands with her handkerchief, as K was too tired to do that for himself. He would have liked just to sit quietly where he was until he had enough strength to leave, and the less fuss people made about him the sooner that would be. But then the girl said, "You can't stay here, we're in people's way here." Kay looked at her as if to ask whose way they were impeding. "If you like, I can take you to the sick room," and turning to the man in the doorway said, "Please help me." The man immediately came over to them, but Kay did not want to go to the sick room. That was just what he wanted to avoid, being led further from place to place. The further he went the more difficult it must become. So he said, "I am able to walk now," and stood up, shaking after becoming used to sitting so comfortably. But then he was unable to stay upright. "I can't manage it," he said, shaking his head, and sat down again with a sigh. He remembered the usher who, despite everything, would have been able to lead him out of there, but who seemed to have gone long before. Kay looked out between the man and the young woman, who were standing in front of him, but was unable to find the usher. "I think," said the man, who was elegantly dressed, and whose appearance was made especially impressive with a grey waistcoat that had two long, sharply tailored points, "the gentleman is feeling unwell because of the atmosphere here, so the best thing, and what he would most prefer, would be not to take him to the sick room, but get him out of the offices altogether." "That's right," exclaimed Kay, with such joy that he nearly interrupted what the man was saying. "I'm sure that'll make me feel better straight away. I'm really not that weak. All I need is a little support under my arms. I won't cause you much trouble. It's not such a long way anyway. Lead me to the door, and then I'll sit on the stairs for a while, and soon recover, as I don't suffer from attacks like this at all. I'm surprised at it myself. I also work in an office, and I'm quite used to office air, but here it seems too strong. You've said so yourselves. So please, be so kind as to help me on my way a little. I'm feeling this, you see, and it'll make me ill if I stand up by myself." And with that he raised his shoulders to make it easier for the two of them to take him by the arms.